beautiful afghan. As we will work on block number 6 today, we'll continue to practice the basic stitches you've already learned while learning even more. I'm so glad you're joining me to make this block. We're going to work a true Irish texture called the Celtic block. Then we'll try the easy but very decorative shallow single crochet, Jacob's ladder, shell stitches, and nice big baubles. If you haven't made these before, you're in for a fun treat today. The pattern tells you about the yarn, colors, and extra supplies you'll need, including a crochet hook size I9 5.5 millimeter, tapestry needle, locking stitch markers, scissors, and a tape measure. Be sure to save any leftover yarn on your skeins as you'll need it later. Kit Club members also have access to a digital stitch guide, which is located online at annieskitclub.com. So here we have block 6. You can see I'm working the Celtic weave here in this direction here. Then I'm working the shallow single crochet here. Then we're working the Jacob's ladder here. And after that, we will work the shell stitches here in this direction. And then end with the bobble stitches here. And then finally put the 2 rounds on the border all around the whole block. Let's get started with section 26 and the gorgeous Celtic weave. For the first section of block 6, we'll be stitching a Celtic weave texture. It has a gorgeous effect, and I promise we'll go slowly to make sure we get it right. So as you can see, we're working with color C. I started with the chain band and then worked double crochets, just following the pattern with the increases where I worked 2 into the same stitch just a couple of times so that we end up with 20 double crochet stitches here on our first row, including those chains that we turned our row with. So we're turning and we are ready to work row 2. So for row 2, we're going to start with a chain 2, and then pattern repeat tells us to skip the next 2 stitches here and then work front post treble around the next 2. So we'll start here by wrapping the yarn twice around our hook for a front post treble, and then make sure you skip those 2 stitches, and then go under and up around the post of the next stitch. Wrap the yarn around your hook and pull up a loop, then yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go through the next 2, and yarn over and go through the last 2. So that created this front post treble stitch, and we'll work one more now in the next one. So again, wrap the yarn twice around your hook, go down under and up around the next post and bring up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, and the last 2. So that's our 2 front post treble stitches. And then the pattern coming up next says to work in front of these last 2, working front post trebles around each of these 2 stitches that we skipped. So we're going to now make a crossing here by doing so. And we will start by wrapping the yarn twice around our hook. Then go back here now and find the first one of them. And then go under and up, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go through the next 2, and yarn over and go through the last 2. So looks like this. We have this second skipped one hiding here in between. So wrap the yarn twice around your hook, then go down, under, and up around the post of that stitch, yarn over and bring up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, and yarn over and go through the last 2. So this now is us working across the first 4 stitches here. We have these crossings that are leaning to the left leaning cable crossing, and we have reached the end of the bracket, so it means that we are going to start at the beginning of the bracket again to work another repetition. So now make sure you see we worked around this one. You can see that there. So we're coming up to these next 4 stitches here. So like the pattern says, we're going to skip the first 2 and work front post trebles around the next 2. So wrap the yarn twice around your hook. Make sure you're skipping the stitches and go around the post of the next stitch and work 1 front post treble and then yarn over twice and go around the post of the next stitch. Bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, a total of 3 times for a treble stitch. Then we'll work in front of them around the posts of these 2, yarn over twice, working around the post of the first one that we skipped and go through 2 loops, a total of 3 times. And then another one, wrap the yarn twice around your hook and find that one that hides between these post stitches and bring up a loop and then yarn over and go through 2, go through 2 and go through 2. So again, we now, if we even out things here that we've been doing, pulling a little bit here and there, we can now see what this looks like after we have worked 2 repetitions. So continue like this until you're reaching the last 3 stitches and I'll be there to guide you how to end the row. So I've been working across and I've now reached these last 3 stitches and we will end the row like the pattern tells us to work a front post treble around the next one. Bring up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2 and yarn over and go through the last 2. And then we have 2 more stitches to work into. We'll work another front post treble around the next one. And yarn over, go through 2, 2 and 2. And now we just have this turning chain that we started our first row with. And we will make a double crochet and put it there in the top of those chain stitches. So just go through the top one, bring up a loop, yarn over, go through 2 and yarn over and go through 2. So this is the look we now have here after we have completed our row number 2. So we will turn our way here to the wrong side of work. So here at the beginning of row 3, we will start with the chain 2. And then we have the bracket telling us our repetition that starts with skipping the next 2 and then work back post treble around the next 2. So make sure you space out those crossings here so that you see which stitches that you are going to work around. And then for a back post treble, we start with the yarn twice around our hook and then you can hold on to that post we're going to work around, flip the work towards you so that you can go under and up. Wrap the yarn around your hook and pull through and then yarn over and go through 2, yarn over, go through 2 and yarn over and go through 2. So that was a back post treble. So we keep this stitch being raised here on the right side and we'll work a back post treble also around the next one. So again, wrap your yarn twice around the hook, go down, under and up around the post of that stitch. Bring up a loop, then yarn over and go through 2, yarn over, go through 2 and yarn over and go through 2. Next in the repetition, it tells me to work behind the last 2 stitches that we worked here and work back post treble around each of the 2 skipped stitches. So that's these 2 here and we're going to work behind these 2 we just worked. So that means behind them, we're back here to work back post trebles around these 2, one at a time. So we will first wrap the yarn twice around our hook. I'm going to hold on to that last wrap here as I go back down to find the post of the first one we skipped. then yarn over and bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, and yarn over and go through 2. So everything's a little bit wonky here now, but just make sure to take a peek. You'll see the next one here that we are going to work around. So I'm holding on to it and I wrap the yarn twice around my hook, then hold on to that last wrap as you go down under and up on the other side of the post. Yarn over and bring up a loop, tighten up a little bit maybe, and then yarn over and go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, and yarn over and go through 2. So that finishes off our repetition. I'm going to turn around here now so you can see how we now made another cable crossing here. And this is how we will now continue all the way across. So when I go back here now to the wrong side, I worked around these two here. So these two are the next two that the repetition tells me to start by skipping. And then we have these next two that I'm going to begin working my next back post trebles around. So wrap the yarn twice around your hook, hold on to the post of the first one of them as you turn around like this and go under and up and tighten a little bit, and then yarn over, go through 2, 2, and 2. Then yarn over twice for the next treble. Find it here, next, right after the one we worked. Go down, under, and up, and pick up that loop. Yarn over, go through 2, go through 2, and go through 2. And now again, we're going to work behind these two, around the posts of these two stitches that we skipped. So wrap the yarn twice around your hook, hold on to that last one, and I'll grab that post that we're going to work around as I turn my work here so that I can stick my hook under and up around it, and then yarn over and bring up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, and yarn over and go through the last 2. Then if we just spread things out a little bit here now, you can see here's the post of the next one that we are going to work around because we just worked around this one. So yarn over twice, hold on to that post and go to the other side, go under and up, yarn over and bring up a loop, and here you go yarn over, and I hold on to the stitch here at the base so it's easier for me to pull through, and then pull through next 2 and pull through next 2, and with that I've finished another crossing. So looking on the right side, it looks like this. So take your time, make sure to spread out your work so that you see in which order these post stitches are coming along the row, and just keep repeating this, what we just worked now, these last 2 repetitions over and over again, and I'll meet you again when you are nearing the end of the row. I'm now at the end of row 3 and I have reached these last 3 stitches. So just like the pattern tells me, I'm going to work a back post treble around the first of them, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, and yarn over, go through 2. Then another back post treble around the next one, and go through 2, go through 2, and go through 2. And then I have reached the chain 2 at the beginning of previous row, and I will put a double crochet in top there going into the second, and yarn over, go through 2, and yarn over and go through 2. So that ends my row 3, and voila, here you now have a look at how this texture is developing. So from here on, you are just going to continue repeating rows 2 and 3 in height until you reach the measure 4 3/4 given in the pattern. making sure to end on a wrong side row, and I'll meet you there. I'm nearing the end here now of a row 3 on the wrong side. I have 3 last stitches to work. I work a back post treble around the next one. So go through 2 and go through 2 and go through 2, and then wrap the yarn twice again and go around the next one and go through 2 and 2 and 2. I've reached my chain 2, and I will put a double crochet on top of it. And then I will turn around, and at this point now, ending with the wrong side row, I'm going to double check my measurements and see if it's time to work our last row. So I'm bringing in my tape measure. This section should now measure 4 3/4 if we are done to work our last row. And as you can see, it does. It's also measuring 5 inches in width. So we're good, and we can work our last row. So here now we are going to decrease so that we end up with the 16 stitches we want to end up with. And to do so, we're going to start the row with the chain 2 for the first half double crochet stitch, and then work a half double into the next one. And yarn over, go through all 3 loops. Then we have a decrease repetition that says to work half double crochet decrease in the next 2. And to do so, we'll wrap the yarn around our hook, go into the next stitch and bring up a loop, then go into the next stitch and bring up a loop. So you now have 4 loops on your hook. Then you yarn over and go through all those 4 loops to decrease 1 stitch. After that, we'll work half double crochet in each of next 3. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So this is our repetition that we will be repeating until we get to the last 3 stitches. So one more time, half double crochet decrease, yarn over and go and pick up a loop in the first one, and then pick up a loop in the next one. 4 loops on your hook, and you yarn over and go through all 4, and then half double in each of the next 3. So keep working like this and meet me again when we have reached those last 3 stitches. I'm now almost at the end of my last row, and I have 3 more stitches left here. I will work 1 more half double crochet decrease. So I'm going into the next stitch and bringing up a loop, and then into the next stitch, bring up a loop, and with 4 loops on my hook, I go through all those 4 loops at once. And then I've reached these chain stitches at the beginning of previous row, and I will put a half double crochet in top here of the turning chain. Like this, bringing up a loop, and then yarn over and go through all 3 loops. So that is my last row, and with that, I can cut the yarn and bring the tail through my last loop and tighten. So we have finished our section 26. Next up, we'll continue to build section 27 on top of our Celtic texture, stitching a texture called the shallow single crochet, also sometimes known as the long single crochet. As we continue with the next texture on our block number 6, we will create another beautiful texture called the shallow single crochet, and it's also sometimes called the long single crochet. After the ridge transitioning between the sections, we will actually just work single crochet stitches, only a bit differently than we usually do. Let me show you how. So as you can see, we are working with color B, and I have followed the pattern for the first 2 rows, where the first row was just working here in the back bars on the previous section, working half double crochet decreases each side, just like we did on the last row back on the previous section. And then for row 2, we were just working single crochets here on the wrong side in the bars facing, so that we created this ridge here on the front. And now I'm here on row 3, ready to work our first pattern texture row. So for row 3, we are going to start by working a chain stitch, and then as the pattern tells us, we are going to work in the spaces below the stitches here, working our long single crochet stitches. And the space below is the exact same stitch that we worked the stitch into. So this first stitch here was worked into this space, so that's where we will go in and bring up the loop, and you're going to bring it up tall so it reaches the height of the row we're on, and then yarn over and go through both 2 loops. So as you can see, that means that we will be covering the stitch that we're working around. So here, like our next stitch here, will go into the same space as you see that this stitch was worked into. Go in there, bring up a loop and bring it up tall, and then yarn over and go through both 2 loops. So now again, you see how we cover that stitch here by working around it, and we get these long vertical lines here across the front of the stitch. So there you can see the look we're getting by doing so, and you'll just continue all the way across here now for our row number 3. And I'll meet you again when we are nearing the end of the row. Now I'm nearing the end of the row. I have 2 more stitches to work around. So 1, and then around the last one, like that. So with that, and to double check yourself, you are still supposed to have 14 stitches here across when you are finishing up row 3. And then for row 4, we will turn to the wrong side. This is what the stitches looks here from the back of them. And we will start with the chain 1 and then work a single crochet here at the top of each stitch. So just tilt it towards you so that you see all the stitches, and then you just work single crochet like you normally would in each one of them, like this. So continue across and meet me again when we're nearing the end of this row. I'm ending my row 4 with single crochet here in each of the last ones. So with that, we'll turn around to the right side again. And now you can see here what it looks like after we have finished our 4th row. So from here on, you're just going to continue repeating rows 3 and 4, which means that here at the beginning on row 3, you work a chain 1, and then you go down into the space here below the first stitch and work into the same space as you worked that first stitch, and work your long single crochet stitch, and then continue into the next one and the next one and the next one, and so on all the way across. So do continue repeating rows 3 and 4 until you get to the given measurement in the pattern, and I will meet you there. I'm at the end here of a wrong side row, and I'm going to turn around to the right side again and check my measurement to see here now if it's time to work our last row. So I'm bringing in my tape measure. It's supposed to measure 8 3/4. So measuring down here from the horizontal stripe, and it's exactly at 8 3/4. So it means that we will now work our last row. So I've had those 14 stitches all along as we've worked back and forth. Here on our last row, we're going to increase so that they are 16 stitches as we want them to be as we finish this last row. So to do so, we're going to chain 1, and then we will work a single crochet here in the first stitch before we work into the stitch below it. So going into the same stitch below as the first one and bring up a loop, and then yarn over and go through both the 2 loops on your hook. And then we'll continue as we have been working into each space below, working our tall single crochet stitches. So continue like this across and meet me again when we reach the last stitch, and I'll show you how to do our last increase. So I've reached the last stitch here now on my last row, so I'll go down below it and work this tall single crochet stitch. But then also now to increase our number to 16, I'll work a single crochet in the same stitch I just worked below, like that. So now there should be 16 stitches across, and I am ready to cut the yarn and pull through the tail and tighten. And with that, we have finished our section 27. Next up, we'll make a Jacob's ladder for the center of our block.